Hello guys, welcome to your 5th Android tutorial. In this tutorial we will be going over Android application permissions and application widgets. We're going to be discussing application permissions. The Android system is a privilege-based operating system. What this means, each application runs in a distinctive system identity, meaning that the user ID and a group ID is assigned to each application so that it can be its own unique individual. Just the Android system does grant these permissions to an application. It's done so in the manifest. We've discussed this in previous tutorials, but in about 2 tutorials we'll actually begin programming it. The permissions that we have, by default, no Android application has the ability to read and write to other applications and email and text messaging and storage and all these other aspects that the phone could basically in a way take over the Android system. Like if there's any way that a application can have control of any portion of an Android application in which it will have the power to disable the user from using their device, essentially you need a permission to view that. Android is developed so that no application has access to these other operations. Things like accessing your contacts, emails, and internet. Imagine how much destructive power someone could get a hold of if they went through your internet or saw your browsing history, or just things, simple things like just being able to access your home screen. An application could essentially lock the home screen from the user and disable their own device if it had the capability. But Android is actually set up so it stops user applications from being able to do this. If applications want to restart, applications share the same resources and data. So in previous tutorials we discussed the fact that the Android system has a thread system in which that one process can only run at a certain time. Well, there are multiple activities within these applications, and all these applications are competing for the same resources and data. So we can allow the phone to have the capability to balance all of these different activities and applications trying to gain access to these resources by having the permissions that we add in our manifest. All Android applications are referred to as a .apk. They come in a small bundled package. All applications must be signed with a certification to identify who created this application. This signature-based system can also be used to grant or deny people the right to put their applications on the market just based solely on their signature. This also falls into the same applications who share the same user ID. So if you have 2 applications that want to share the same user ID, they must also share the same signature to verify that it is the same owner who is creating the applications, both of the applications, in order to share the same resources. Every application has a unique ID for every device that it's on for its duration on that device. Essentially, I often uninstall and reinstall Pandora onto my phone because the application takes up a lot of my phone resources. Granted, I have an awful phone, but I uninstall and reinstall Pandora a lot. Every time that I uninstall and reinstall the application, it actually generates a unique ID for it. The data that is stored on my device will actually have the same unique ID attached to it. So essentially, that application that has that ID can only store data where that ID is located. So there's no applications who are falsely storing data like for your contact information. It's somehow saving over your original contacts and messing up all the numbers in your phone. It won't be allowed to do that because it won't have the same ID as your contacts application. I wanted to take a second and talk about data in our programs. Data that we store, is incredibly important that we keep it safe. As a programmer, we learn how to manipulate data. However, as a professional developer, you will learn how to keep your data safe. Keep the data safe from harm, keep the data safe from manipulation, and keep the data safe from people who could use it in a way to try and harm people. So keeping people's phone numbers, bank information, and contact information safe from applications that could potentially use it in a negative way. That is your duty to the people who you build these applications for as a professional developer. To continue on our Android journey, We're going to learn about application widgets. These are small views that we essentially place on the screen. Things like the music application. When you hold down the menu, the home screen, and you have all those widgets pop up, someone had to make those. They're basically smaller, more compact versions of the applications that we use. However, they can be embedded into other applications. For instance, the home screen is a very popular place to embed them. When we create an application widget, we actually have to keep several things in mind. We have to keep in mind the layout, how it's going to translate to different screen sizes, how it's going to act when the screen is swiping back and forth, so it's to do with update timing. And classes, we need to import it in order to leverage this piece of Android. We'll learn about that later. Widgets actually have the same layout views as regular size layouts, so they can use frame, linear, relative, and grid layouts just as regular layout files do. We can customize the layouts by accessing the XML code or using in the designer in Eclipse, just like a normal layout. However, it's just a more compacted version of it. Alright guys, this was just a really short tutorial explaining permissions and application widgets. In our next tutorial, we're actually going to begin programming. So I'll see you guys then.